Hello, everybody, and welcome to the scruffy-looking Nerd Herders podcast. I'm your host, Tyler, bringing you all things nerd and geek-related. And on this episode, I'll be discussing the ever-building story surrounding the closing of Telltale Games Studios, some new info on Disney's new Star Wars Resistance show, Mystery Science Theater 3000 news, and some tabletop gaming news. Okay, and jumping right on in, so some shocking news this last week was Telltale Game Studios closing their doors, essentially laying off over 250 employees. Well, this week, an ex-employee has already gotten the wheels in motion on a class action lawsuit against the studio for violating not just federal but state laws in regarding to laying off employees without any warning. And it seems several employees had been working late, some until 3 a.m. the day the studio was closed. Which, that's, extremely disgusting. These employees are still, working their hands to the bone for this company, not knowing, completely unaware what was going to happen. None of the regular employees had any idea what was about to happen to them. And, they were just going along in their daily lives like normal, and then they're laid off. But apparently the studio executives were trying to essentially still get funding from different studios to help keep their studio afloat. But their last hope was with Lionsgate Studios, and obviously it fell through. So Telltale Games was already on their last leg. I mean, they had no funding. They were wearing themselves thin. It was just a bad thing all around. But to add even more insult to the injury, they've already pulled the season pass of the new season for The Walking Dead's the final season from several digital gaming storefronts. Now, initially when this news broke out, the comments across social media were flooded with upset fans who wanted to finish their story for The Walking Dead. And then back whenever this news first broke out last week about Telltale Games shutting down, they were really adamant about wanting to be able to finish their games of Game of Thrones, Tales from the Borderlands, the Batman games, etc. But now after ex-employees have gone to social media and showcased and brought out to light how they were treated by the studio and forced to work overtime, sometimes without pay, just to meet near impossible deadlines, only to be fired with no severance pay. And, some of these people had just recently, just 2 weeks ago, moved from across country, some from, out of the country, and relocated to be able to work at Telltale Games, and now they have no job. They completely uprooted their family to move across country for a job at a game studio, and now they don't have a job. But now because of all this information coming to light, fans are now torn about whether, the game should continue or not. Fans who were once clamoring for more Walking Dead story episodes are now telling the studio, hey, how about you focus on taking care of these employees that took care of you? These people have no health insurance now. They didn't get a severance package. They weren't completely aware. So it's just kind of common courtesy if your business is going to shut down, let your employees know ahead of time. That way they can start putting out feelers for jobs. They can start putting out apps for jobs, sending out resumes, sending out their portfolios, stuff like that. And they didn't have that. So now these people are, almost screwed. But I thought one thing I thought was super cool was a lot of game studios were reaching out on social media, on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and stuff like that, and just saying, hey, look, if you or someone you know has been affected by the closing of Telltale Games, send us a resume, send us an email, and we've got job positions available. We want to try to hire you first. Game studios are really, really stepping up and trying to help these people out, and I think that's fantastic. That is awesome. I mean, that's what communities are for. The gaming community, even though they're all in business, and competing against each other for business, they're still willing to help each other out. which is awesome because they know that the talent that was at Telltale Games was essentially being hindered by very poor executive decisions, because the execs at Telltale saw the success that the Walking Dead game had, and they just tried to mirror that same formula for all their other games. And so I personally have felt that the talent at Telltale Games has been held back and hindered from being at Telltale Games because they're still using the same game engine that they used when they first started making games. Like, I think last year they had said that they were going to try to switch over to the Unity game engine, but they never did. And I know Unity's really big, and it's actually a fairly decent game engine, but they never did. So I think it's really cool. I can't wait to see what some of these employees can do at other game studios and what they can bring. I think it's going to be fantastic. But Telltale released a statement to Kotaku stating that they're still currently working to find a way to hand off the productions for episodes 3 and 4 of The Walking Dead, so that way the season can be completed, and they hope to have a firm announcement before the end of the week. Now, like I said in, I think it was the last episode, they're running on like a skeleton crew of like 20 or 25 people right now. Even Netflix is still wanting to do a Stranger Things game. They're still trying to shop around for a new game studio to do that now that Telltale has gone belly up. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of all of this. But that's where we are as of now. So in other news, speaking of Netflix, last year Netflix gave us a 12th season of the Mystery Science Theater 3000 show, and it seems that this year they're going to be giving us another season on Thanksgiving Day, November 22nd, marking the show's 30th anniversary of riffing on movies. And I don't know, man, it's so cool because I remember growing up watching this show on the Sci-Fi Channel on Saturday mornings, and I fell in love. I thought it was hilarious. It was so funny. Even at the time, I didn't get some of the jokes, but the ones that I did get, I thought were hilarious. And now that I'm older, and I'm rewatching the episodes from when I was younger, and it's like I'm rewatching. It's like I'm watching it for the first time. This show is so funny. It's so good, and I love what they did with riff tracks, to where you can purchase the riff tracks themselves. I think they were like 99 cents or $1.99 or something like that, and then you play it alongside the movie, so that way they could get around copyright infringement, so they weren't, you essentially had to play it with alongside your movie that you were already watching. So like the Hunger Games or Twilight or the Star Wars movies and stuff like that. So they were able to riff on all these movies, but do it in a legal way. So I thought that was super good. Gosh, it was so funny. The Twilight ones were hilarious. The Star Wars ones were hilarious. All of them were so good. But the new season's coming out this year on November 22nd, so mark your calendars because I know I'm going to be probably... my original plan was to be watching football on Thanksgiving Day, but now it seems like I'm probably going to be streaming some Mystery Science Theater 3000 episodes on Thanksgiving instead. So maybe that'll become a new family tradition, just watching MST3K. That'd be pretty cool. But also, in other news, Star Wars Resistance, Disney's animation show, so a new synopsis for the show confirms that Oscar Isaac will voice his character of Poe Dameron for the first 2 episodes of the series, and Gwendolyn Christie will return as Captain Phasma in episode 3. And also, Elijah Wood will guest star in episode 4 as a character named Jace Rucklin, something like that. I'm really excited for the show. I think the cel-shaded animation, it's kind of like a mix between it's like a cel-shaded anime. It's really fascinating. I'm pretty excited for it. I think my son and I are both equally excited for it. But the show just looks really good. I'm really excited about it. I know Disney said that they're going to be doing a major slowdown on the amount of Star Wars stuff that they put out. I know they said as of now, everything that is announced or has been announced they're going to continue with it, but they said they're going to try to slow down on the Star Wars stuff that's being put out. Now, me personally, I haven't had any qualms with the Star Wars stuff they've been putting out. I've thought everything Disney's put out so far has been pretty fantastic. But I know a lot of people felt like it was Star Wars overload. I kind of felt like Disney was trying to treat the Star Wars property as what they've done with the Marvel properties, which I don't really feel like it works that way. Because like with the Star Wars properties, they're kind of their own IPs, and like they're different genres. Now, if they were to treat Star Wars like that, where they were doing, like Rogue One was essentially kind of like a spy espionage movie, like set in Star Wars. If they were to do, like focus on stuff like that, like maybe do like a buddy cop style movie, or, just focus on, hey, let's make this kind of movie, but it's set in Star Wars, like a bank heist, or like do another spy type movie, just do stuff like that. It's like, but in Star Wars, I think that would be pretty successful. I think that would be, very interesting, and it would give us a chance to see different sides of the Star Wars universe that we haven't been able to see before. I think that'd be pretty cool. I still stand by they should do a swoop racing movie that focuses on swoop racers, and it's just like a kind of like the underground street racing craze that went on for a while, but it's swoop racing. I still think that would be a successful movie. They could do a swoop racing video game tie-in. I mean, geez, it's like the marketing alone would pay for the return of the movie. In other news, speaking with IndieWire, Matt Reeves revealed that his script for the Batman movie is going to be heavily inspired by the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. He said he basically wants to touch on not just Bruce Wayne using Batman as a disguise, but that him using Batman as a way to be his true self that is hidden deep down within himself. Like Bruce Wayne's inner self coming out as Batman. And I think that's interesting. He said, he wants to touch on, being an anonymous figure, and that want or desire to be once you're anonymous, okay, well now I'm my true self. And, we see it on the internet all the time when people are behind a screen name, their real name's not out there, their real picture isn't out there. And, it's just or what we call troll accounts, they're just out there, and, they're anonymous and they can get away with it. And I think it's kind of cool that they might be kind of touching on that kind of subject of being anonymous and your true self coming out, because I think that's an interesting topic and it should be discussed. And because I know one of my buddies, Jeff Yinzer, he's super big on, if you have something that you want to say, put your name to it, stand by what you have to say. And that's something I've always kind of, respected from him is, everything that he does, he puts his name on it. He's like, yeah, this is me. This is what I stand for. This is what I have to say. And he doesn't hide behind what, an anonymous account, or he doesn't hide behind, a fake profile. He is who he is. And I think that's cool that, they might be kind of touching on that same kind of thing with the Batman. It'll be interesting to see, anyway, I should say. Okay, moving on in other Walking Dead news, Andrew Lincoln, as has been announced and talked about to death, is leaving the show The Walking Dead as Rick Grimes. But that doesn't mean he's leaving the show completely. He spoke with Entertainment Weekly, and he has confirmed that he is planning on to return to The Walking Dead's current filming for Season 9 to essentially shadow the directors, because his plan is to return the following season, Season 10, as a director. Which I always think it's really interesting to, whenever actors are able to kind of see that other side of the camera and start, which I know he did it before. I can't remember the show. It was on the BBC.